this is one of the best cars you can buy in the world right now, and I will tell you why. The reason is Honda have got to be one of the most reliable cars in the world right now, and also of all time. You get a Honda, you are not going to have any breakdown issues, I can assure you of that. The top 10 most reliable cars in the world at the moment are all Japanese, and Honda, without a shadow of doubt, are the leader in that. Now, first thing I'm going to say about this car is the interior. Although it's not Rolls-Royce luxury, it is very well put together. It feels solid, it feels like it's been put together, built to last. Usually I find with the Japanese car market, the interior is very cheap and tacky. It feels like it's made out of recycled waste bins, but this one feels good. It feels like it's been put together and designed with longevity at mind. Now the steering is what my attention has been drawn to straight away. The steering is very, very tight, but being a front wheel drive, even when I'm not accelerating hard, I'm feeling torque steer. And I'm not only getting torque steer, I can actually feel the road dictating to the steering wheel from the outside in, which is very unusual. I've only had that with a handful of cars. Particularly going through a roundabout, I can feel the stiffness and the tautness to the steering. Now, that is a little bit disconcerting because it makes me wonder who's in control of the vehicle. Is it the road or is it me? I would like to know that I'm determining who turns the steering wheel. I mean, after all, if I hit a curb or if I go over a pothole, is the steering going to be altered by the road surface? That could be a problem. Now, the wing mirrors on this car here are absolutely enormous, and I personally always raise my hat to car companies who do that, because we may be travelling forwards, but it's so important to see where you've been. Also to see what's going on around you. Every car, every vehicle has that proverbial black spot, that blind spot. And I always feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident driving a vehicle that has large mirrors. I mean, at the end of the day, it's worth sacrificing the aerodynamics to have that. Now, the rear view vision is also very good. There's actually no obstruction there at all. Now, one thing that's screaming out at me right now is that it does actually seem to be quite a lot of noise coming from the car. It's quite deafening. I find as I do this review now, I do have to raise my voice. And that surprises me with something that's put together as well as a Honda. There's a lot of noise, not from the actual engine, but there's a lot of noise underneath the car. And that's just general road noise. And it doesn't sound like it's very well insulated underneath at all. It is a bit of a square vehicle, so I can expect a bit of wind resistance. But yes, even there now, coming to a standstill, I can hear the gears winding. I can almost hear the brakes working, and I don't really want to hear all that when I'm driving along. It's nice to be insulated in your own little world and concentrate on the road going by. My attention's constantly going to the mechanical noise that's going on underneath the car. Let's see what it's like when we accelerate. It's almost deafening. There was a bit of torque steer there when I accelerated as well. I will do an 0 to 60 test in a moment to see just how drastic that can be. Now, on the interior front, the center console here is like something out of Starship Enterprise. It's really quite impressive. I do like this display here for your sat-nav, your monitor, and usually when you get an impressive screen, you usually get a very high-tech temperature controls down here, which is always a bad thing because you can't operate them without taking your eyes off the road. Looking down at this now, two big dials. I can change the heating and the arrangement with that in the car without taking my eyes off the road, so that's a big plus. The instrument cluster here is not obstructed by the steering wheel in any way. It's very nicely illuminated and it's very visible. I like that a lot. It's very clever the way that's done. It's actually very stylish as well. This is the 6-speed manual, and a 6-speed gear is always very welcome. Bit of an unusual handbrake here, but it is the reach and lift type rather than the fly-by-wire ones which you see in so many cars now, which I have to come to absolutely detest. Right, we're doing 60 miles an hour now. I'm at 2,500 revs, and the sound from this car is deafening. It's really quite disturbing, actually. Now, if I give the car a little bit of a wiggle test like this, it kind of gives me some idea of how the car would behave if I was doing an emergency swerve. It does boat and flap around a little bit, but to be fair, it's not that bad, and I'd feel more confident about controlling a car like this in a skid than I would for something like a Range Rover. So they haven't done too bad there. But I think, to be fair, I'd like to see a firmer set of shocks on a car like this. If you had to swerve 40-50 miles an hour, if you lose control of a car, you want to know that the car is going to complement what you're trying to do with the car, where you're trying to steer, what your intentions are. When a car flaps around as much as some cars do, and they meander and roll all over the place, you can't control a car which is bouncing the other way you're trying to steer. I'd say the greatest feature of this car is probably the steering. I do like the torque feeling on the steering, and there's always a lag with the steering, but with this one I move the steering wheel and I can feel the wheels moving almost immediately afterwards. That's surprisingly rare even in modern cars. Even Mercedes don't seem to be able to get that one right at the moment. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a 0 to 60 test. One, to see how well it goes, and two, to see what the torque steer will be like, because personally I'm not a fan of front wheel drive cars, and torque steer is one of the reasons why. Now the conditions are dry, so we don't have to worry about the wet road. 0 to 60 test, 3, 2, 1, go. And 60. Now that is fantastic. This car, as far as I'm concerned, is designed for your average sort of housewife scenario, running the kids around, doing the shopping, maybe the old man using it now and again to get back and forth to work. But this car's got bags of power. It's not the sort of vehicle you're going to be wanting to tow a boat with, but as you can see, 0 to 60, no problem at all. You've got that power to overtake lorries on the motorway. You've got that power to get you out onto a roundabout in the busy flow of traffic. So you've got enough speed with this vehicle. It's well put together. It's a tidy, attractive vehicle. There's certainly nothing wrong with its appearance. Now, there's only one thing left to test with this vehicle, and that's the brakes. So I'm not going to do an emergency stop. I'm just going to brake very firmly to get an idea of if there's any harmony with the brake calipers and if they work in synchronization. So 3, 2, 1. Wow, that is impressive. That is very, very good. That is very, very good. The brakes are silky smooth. You have the ability to apply a gradual pressure. There's no on or off. With some brakes, it's like when you put up against a brick wall and pressing. The brakes on this are superb. Total harmony, total synchronization. I can feel every caliper working. In fact, I'd say those brakes are faultless. Generally, Mercedes, BMW, even Range Rover come up tops with the brakes, but I have to say this particular car has got one of the best braking systems I've come across in a long time. This is a very good car. It's difficult to find anything negative about it. The one thing that does spring to my mind is the fact that it's a front wheel drive. If the front wheel drive is not going to be an issue for you, then what you have here is a great vehicle.